ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح لهذه الأمة الكريمة الشريفة وجاهد في الله تعالى حق الجهاد حتى توفاه الله ولحق بالرفيق الأعلى فترك أمته على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك فما من خير إلا دل الأمة عليه وما من شر إلا حذرها منه صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار والعياذ بالله أما بعد فيقول الإمام الحافظ أبو داود رحمه الله تعالى في كتابه السنن حدثنا يحيى بن موسى البرخي قال حدثنا وكيع وحدثنا عثمان بن أبي شيبة قال حدثنا ابن نمير قال حدثنا عبادة بن مسلم الفزاري عن جبير بن أبي سليمان بن جبير بن مطعم أنه قال سمعت عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما يقول لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو هؤلاء الدعوات حين يمسي وحين يصبح يقول اللهم إني أسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم إني أسألك العفو والعافية في ديني ودنياي وأهلي ومالي اللهم استر عورتي وخل عثمان عوراتي وآمن روعاتي واحفظني من بين يدي ومن خلفي وعن يميني وعن شمالي وأعوذ بعظمتك أن أغتال تحتي أو من تحتي قال أبو داود قال وكيع يعني الخصف أو كما قال رحمه الله تعالى والحديث صحيح إن شاء الله تعالى. Let me teach you something today, brothers and sisters. Let me offer you something for free. Let me teach you one of the most beautiful prophetic supplications, which is a sound supplication found in an authentic and genuine hadith. And one of the cancers, and there are many types of cancers that plague the Muslim ummah today, that plague me, that plague you, that plague us, regardless of your background or your ethnicity, or from what city or town or village you hail, and from where you migrated or you were born or raised, or second or third or fourth generation, etc. It plagues the Muslims. The Muslims who are indigenous to this country, and our brothers and sisters who left their lands, coming to this country for one reason or another, fleeing from political persecution, wishing to practice the deen, wishing to spread and propagate the deen, or many of us wishing to make a better life, to earn money, to have my children with a better opportunity and a better shot at life, education, and healthcare. And those who ran from war and civil war, and those who wanted their children to grow up in a place, on a block, in a town in which bombs aren't dropping and there aren't vendettas for their male family members. Regardless of your reason why you're here in America, I accept Islam in jail. I accepted Islam coming from this movement or that nation or this or that. I came to Islam in the 60s or the 70s. I was a cab driver. I had a restaurant. I'm a this and I'm a that, etc. But it plagues all of us. And this cancer is the cancer of made up, bogus du'as. Du'as that are false, that are fake, or better than that, du'as that are weak. It can be found in a book. It can be traced back, but it isn't authentic. It's not sound. And you can't feel absolutely sure that the Prophet ﷺ said these words, let alone encouraged and commanded you to say those words. Or scenario 3, and this is very, very common in the Muslim world, and some countries more than others, and some jails more than others. Fed, state, county, local, etc. Jailhouse Islam. And that is a sloppy collage of du'as. Here's a verse from Surah Al-Fatiha. Here's a hadith that's found in Bukhari. And here you say this, you say Surah Al-Ikhlas 100 times before you go to sleep, and you'll receive the reward of Jannah. If you recite Ayatul Kursi 75 times, and Surah Al-Waqi'ah, and Surah Yasin, Allah will protect you from the Dajjal, Allah will protect you from the punishment in the grave, and you will receive the reward of 70 martyrs. Surah Yasin, authentic or inauthentic? For sure, authentic. Surah Al-Waqi'ah from the Quran? For sure. Ayatul Kursi? For sure. Al-Ikhlas? For sure. Are these names not names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Al-Wakil, Al-Hamid, Al-Kabir, etc.? For sure. But cutting and pasting and mushing them all together, putting them on a poster or a book, let alone the world in the age of social media, in which say this dua 10 times if you can't get married. Say this dua 50 times if you can't sleep at night. Say this dua 100 times if you can't have children. And then when someone approaches the brother who spread this message, or is posted in the masjid, or my son, who's originally from Bangladesh, he went overseas to study Islam. And the Islam that he studied is a bit different than the Islam that we taught him, and the Islam that he was used to. So he graduated from Medina. He came back after 8 years. He speaks Arabic fluently. He may dress a little differently. He may talk a little differently, but he's the same child. But his mind, his soul, and his heart is very different. And he says, Father, Mother, this dua that we've been saying the last 50 years, that you taught me to say when I was a child, la, you can't say that. Why not, son? It's not authentic with me. The Prophet didn't say it directly, let alone 100 times or 300 times. What do you mean? Well, there are other scholars. There are other schools. We understood that you went to Medina, but there are older colleges in the world. There are older universities. There are other mashayikh. There are other schools of thought. And Islam isn't so rigid and tight, where it just has to be one scholar, one sheikh. And of course, that's the best argument that a person can make. Is a dua that's put together from 10 other duas, 10 other surahs. And then a person says, say it in this amount of times, in this manner, and I, or the sheikh, will say, you will receive this special reward that the Prophet ﷺ never, ever said. Once more, brothers and sisters, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was sent with Surah Yasin, for sure. Rather, some scholars have said that Yasin is one of the names of the Prophet ﷺ. Innaka, Allah says, indeed, you're from the Mursaleen. So the Yasin is from the Quran. But did the Prophet say, recite it 30 times before you sleep and you'll receive this reward? Did he say that? Along with Waqi'ah and Ayatul Kursi and Taha and Ikhlas and Falaq? The Prophet did not say that. Let alone, the Prophet never ever said that you'll receive this amount of reward, etc. So where are you getting this from? Well, my scholar told me this. And my sheikh told me this. And we've been making this dua, son, before you went to Medina, before you went to Saudi Arabia. Hundreds of years, your ancestors were making this dua. You're saying they're all wrong? That's the scenario. All right, so let's make an example. Let's make a parable why this is an incorrect way of thinking and why this is a plague in the Muslim ummah, and it will hinder us from achieving greatness. The scholars of Islam, they teach us, إِنَّ بِالْمِثَالِ يَتَّضِحُ الْمَقَامِ. They said things become clear through examples. And Allah tells us in the Quran, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ. Those are the parables and examples that we make for men. وَمَا يَعْقِلُهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. But only knowledgeable men, smart men, wise men and women pick up and get the point. So this example can be found in some of the teachings of Islam. We know that a man in Islam is encouraged and allowed to marry more than one wife. It's lawful. It is not adultery. It is not shameful. Rather, it is recommended and it is permissible. So when a man wants to marry a second wife, or maybe a third, he has 2 wives already, or maybe a fourth. What are some of the things that the first or the second wife is going to say? Why he cannot and why he should not marry another woman? Of course, money may be tight. or she's not a good woman, or I'm jealous, or she may say that was only for the Prophet, or marrying more than one wife was during the time of war and there were orphans, etc., etc., etc. But we know one of the most common arguments and one of the most logical arguments and one of the strongest arguments that this woman is going to make is say, you barely have enough time for me. You don't call me throughout the day. You don't text me throughout the day. You don't send me text messages and emojis. You don't show me enough attention. I'm not receiving all of the love, my needs and my wants. So how is it possible for you to marry another woman that's now going to take more of your time from me? Are you going to give her that attention? Are you going to show her that love? For argument's sake, it's a good thing that you get married again, but not like this with this time schedule. You have to give me some more time, and if you can manage your time, go ahead, you have my blessing. But right now, there's not enough time for 2 women in your life. There isn't enough time for 3 women in your life, because you barely have enough time for what? For one. You guys get the point or not? Is that for argument's sake, this supplication, recited in Surah Yasin 50 times, Surah Al-Waqi'ah, with Taha, with Ayatul Kursi, with Ikhlas, asking all of this and saying that 25 times, 100 times, for argument's sake, it's okay to say. And for argument's sake, these scholars have allowed it. But in 24 hours, do you have enough time to say the supplications that are clearly authentic and that the Prophet ﷺ clearly said, and as Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma tells us, well, he said, لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو هؤلاء الدعوات حين يمسي وحين يصبحون. Is that whenever the Messenger of Allah عليه الصلاة والسلام woke up in the morning, and whenever he went to sleep at night, he would always make this supplication. لم يكن يدعو. He never left it off. Now, I would bet, and I would say, it's safe to say, that many of you, if not most of you, have never even heard of this dua. That's a fact. Many of you have never even heard of it before in your 40 years, 50 years, 30 years of Islam. Many students of knowledge, they may haven't heard of this dua, let alone those who are clueless. But I would guarantee, if I said, let me see that small book that you're carrying, or let me come over your house and let me see the things on your wall, or let me see the messages in your WhatsApp or your Instagram or your TikTok or your Twitter, etc., etc. How many baseless, bogus, made up, fabricated, dubious, doubtful supplications are in circulation that you've read, that you've heard of, that you've memorized, and that you've taught your children? Is this not a fact? Where's the time for the authentic sunnah in 24 hours? Work, going to the gym, taking care of kids, dropping off the kids at the daycare, picking up the daycare, I'm a housewife, whatever your lifestyle is. What du'as are you making on a daily basis that are in Bukhari and Muslim, that are sound, that are authentic, and most importantly, that are comprehensive? The Prophet ﷺ instructed us to make jawami' du'a, the comprehensive supplications. So I have an exam to make. Oh Allah, allow me to get a 95. Oh Allah, allow me to pass my driver's test. Oh Lord, please don't allow me to get stopped at the traffic light. Oh Lord, protect me from divorce. Oh Lord, protect my children from this. Oh Lord, give me that. And when you could have said one sentence that would cover everything, and that is the way of making dua. And the fastest way between 2 points is a straight line. And there's no line straighter than the Prophet ﷺ's supplications. So the things that plague the ummah are innovations, for sure, unfortunately, let alone shirk. And I myself have been to several Muslim countries, Middle Eastern countries, North African countries, Far Eastern countries of the Muslims. I myself, not what I read in a book, or not what the scholar taught me, or not what I heard in Saudi Arabia. I've seen with my own 2 eyes Muslims making tawaf around graves with my own 2 eyes. It is not an exaggeration. I've seen with my own 2 eyes Muslims with candles around huge mausoleums. The Prophet ﷺ forbade the grave to be more than a hand span. The Messenger of Allah. And here we have a mausoleum of this saint, in which there are candles, there are charity boxes, there are sacrificial animals, there are candies, and there are sweets offered. For who? Allah at the grave, maybe? Or for the saint himself. So how much shirk is in the ummah today? And how much innovation is in the ummah today? and how many bogus du'as, sloppy, made-up du'as that have no foundation in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ have been memorized and passed on and spread. And this is very, very sad. And this is the punishment of ignorance. And this is the punishment of turning away from learning. And it is the punishment for the scholars of Islam and the imams of Islam not having the necessary courage and not being afraid and scared of the political people. I don't care what you say. This is the haqq and I'm saying it. You don't have to invite me back to your masjid, that's fine, but I'm going to say the truth. And you can shut me down, you can cancel me, you can lock me up, you can do whatever you want. But the truth is above all of us. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ never said that. But how can a scholar say this? How can an imam say this when he's blindly following someone, who's blindly following someone, who's blindly following someone who was at fault? And that is how shirk and innovations and false practices become cemented in the Muslim world. Because no one said anything. No one had the boldness to speak out. And it was passed down from father to son, son to grandson. And the one who says that it's wrong, it's made up, you can't make that supplication, there's a better supplication to make, he is the this. And they'll call him a that. And he's an extremist, and he's harsh, and he's mean. What is my sin? The only thing that I told you was Bukhari and Muslim. When the Prophet woke up, this is what he said. When the Prophet went to sleep, that's what he said. When the Prophet got dressed, this is what he encouraged us to say. What book are you finding your dua in? To read Surah to the class 30 times when you go to sleep. Can you show me? The average person cannot show you. And this is very important advice for students of knowledge when you return back to your countries. Don't fight with the local imams. Don't be disrespectful. Don't get accused of being arrogant and conceited, but just ask them a basic question. Yeah, Sheikh, can you show me where this dua is? And oftentimes the Sheikh may say, I don't know. I never read it. I was just taught it when I was overseas. You never read it, Sheikh? No. Well, man, let's go to the library. Maybe you can show me. And maybe he'll get the point. Here are a few things that I need to correct. And he'll thank you for showing him that which is correct in the proper manner. Al-Muhim, what's important, is that Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he tells us, لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو هؤلاء الدعوات حين يمسي وحين يصبح. Is that when he woke up and before he went to sleep at night, the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم would stick to this supplication. Let me teach you the supplication. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-afiyata fi dunya wal akhirah. Oh Allah, I beg of you, I ask you, I implore you, I beseech you, I humbly demand from you afiyah, well-being in this world and in the next. Oh Allah, please give me well-being in this world, let alone the next world. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-afwa wal-afiyata. Oh Allah, once more I beg you for forgiveness. I beg you to pardon me. I beg you to overlook my sins and my mistakes and my errors and my flaws. And once more I beg you to give me well-being, to make me safe and stable in this world and in the next. Wa ahli wa mali. Oh Allah, please bless my wife for me. Please bless my children for me. Please bless my grandchildren. Please bless my investments. Please bless my savings. Please bless the money that I put to the side for my children. I'm going to marry my daughters off. I'm going to send my son to college. Please bless everything from my wealth and from my possessions. My home, my house, my riding beast, my car, my camel. Oh Allah, protect these possessions for me. And protect my wife or my wives, protect my children, protect my grandmother. Ahli wa mali. Oh Allah, protect me in all of these things. And then the Prophet ﷺ, every morning and every night, how many of you heard of this law before? Every day he said this. And you've never even heard of it before. Whose fault is that? Is that your imam's fault? Or is it your fault for not reading? The Prophet ﷺ, he would say, Allahumma astur awrati. He would say, oh Allah, cover my nakedness. Hide my nakedness. Cover my shamed parts. Cover my private parts. Ustur awrati. وآمن روعاتي. And oh Allah, right now I'm shaking, I'm trembling, I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I'm paranoid. Allow me to be still. Allow me to feel safe. Allow me to feel secure. Allow the fear to be taken away from me. And oh Allah, protect me from being scared and anxious in the future. Oh Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, he would say, Allahumma, he says, oh Allah, ihfadni min bayna yadayya, protect me from in front. Wa min khalfi, and from behind. Wa an yamini, and from the right side. Wa an shimali, and from the left side. Wa a'udhu bi'azamatika an ughtala min tahti. And oh Allah, I seek refuge in your greatness. You are al-azim. Protect me from danger from beneath, from earthquakes. Protect me from being killed and slain and swallowed up and falling into the ground. Look at this beautiful, beautiful supplication. Look how comprehensive it is. Tell me one thing. Raise your hand right now. If you can tell me one aspect of the Muslim's life that this authentic supplication didn't cover. The grave, being sick in the hospital, surgery, a test, an exam, getting married, going through a divorce, finding a business partner, having children, relocating, migrating, going to work, starting up your car, getting on your bike. Tell me one aspect of life that this dua doesn't cover. Oh Allah, give me well-being in this world. Everything in this world that I need, give me well-being. And give me well-being in the grave. When the angels come to me and they ask me those 3 questions. And none of the 3 questions will be, Ish asluk, where are you really from? Ish jinsiyatak, what's your nationality? Ish qabilatak, what's your tribe? What border are you from? What project are you from? You from the north or the south side? You from this side of the bridge or that side of the bridge? Who's your father? Who's your cousin? Who'd you study with? What Jumu'ah, what group are you with? What masjid did you go to? Who's your friends? Who are your homies? Who do you hang out with? None of these questions will be asked. What brand name shoes are you wearing right now? What tags do you have? How much money do you have? None of those questions will be asked. Those angels are stern and they're professional. And they only want 3 things from you, and if you can't answer those 2 questions properly, it's nothing else to discuss. What is your religion? Who did you worship? And who's Muhammad to you? What's your relationship to this man? What do you know about this man? And if you didn't practice well, you're not going to play well. And if you didn't live accordingly, you'll stutter. You'll stammer. You will not be given the ability to answer the questions properly. And we all know the tragic result of failing to answer the 3 questions in the grave properly. So ponder on this dua of the Prophet ﷺ. Learn it, memorize it, and do away with the bogus, fake du'as, the made-up du'as. Stick to Riyadh al-Salihin and the summarized Bukhari and summarized Muslim. Stick to Hisn al-Muslim. Stick to the good, authentic books, because you don't have enough time in your 24-hour busy day to read what this sheikh said, and this made-up dua, and this dua from this group and from these people, so on and so forth. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول ما سمعتم، أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله تعالى لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه كان غفارا. الحمد لله وكفى وصلاة الله وسلامه على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. There isn't enough time to give this beautiful prophetic supplication all that it deserves. Explaining, commenting, extracting the different points, massaging out all of the different gems and jewels that are contained in these golden words. There isn't enough time. So therefore, let us focus on one aspect of this dua, which is another major plague in the Muslim Ummah, let alone in the non-Muslim Ummah. And that is, or they are, the staggering statistics with regards to anxiety and depression. Staggering statistics of how many pills, medications, how much alcohol is consumed, how much weed we smoke, how much we vape, are needed because I'm shaken, and it's the only thing that calms me down. The alcohol is the only thing that takes my mind off of the pain and the trauma and the tragedy that took place when I was younger. Getting high is the only time in which I'm not scared and I'm not afraid. Going to a therapist, sitting on someone's sofa, a shrink, speaking to them, talking to them, paying them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, telling them about my interpersonal life is the only relief that I get from this bad feeling, from my anxiety, and from my depression. So I have to drink things, I have to eat things, I have to wear things, I have to put on a facade, I have to act like I'm a tough guy, or I'm smart, or I'm this and I'm that, for people to accept me, for me to feel good and to sleep at night. If you look, rather you don't have to look, you yourself, I myself, look at your children, look at your teenagers, look at the people who live in your own house, how much anxiety and depression that they suffer from. But when is the last time that when is the last time that your son or your daughter or your wife or your husband sat down, kneeled down, raised his or her hands and said, Allahumma astur awrati wa amin rawati. Oh Allah, protect my nakedness and give me safe and peace from my fear, from my terror. Allahumma astur awrati, yani al-ma'ayib. My personal sins, my flaws, my inner insecurities, the things that no one knows about, that I'll be scared for people to find out about. Oh Allah, keep them safe from the people. And allow my flaws not to come to the surface. Allow me to succeed. Allow me to win. Allow me to be brave enough to dare to be great in life. The reason why you failed in college, not because the exams were too hard, but you didn't believe in yourself. The reason why you failed in Medina University, not because it was too difficult to memorize and learn, because you didn't believe in yourself. The reason why your marriage failed is because you were paranoid. And you were accusing your wife of things that she was free from. She had no idea of the things that you accused her of. That's why you got divorced. Because of your anxiety and your depression. And because of what you're suffering from. And because you were scared and afraid of people seeing your aura. The physical aura or the metaphysical aura. And we as Muslims, we try our best to cover both. You can't see my private parts. I'm not wearing skin-tight clothes, skin-tight shirts, skinny pants, with my underwear sticking out and hanging out as the style. It's not how I dress. You don't see my chest popping out of my shirt. You don't see my behind and my rear end. How you going to pray like that? Rather, if you're living that life, how you want to run when it's time to run? And there's a tragic story of a young man many years ago. He got into a firefight, a shootout, and he tried to run, but his pants were too tight. And he got hit up, and got laid out. So how you going to be a gangster wearing skin-tight clothes? How does it even make sense? What you want concealed? How can a Muslim dress like that? How can you expose your aura? How do you wake up in the morning as a Muslim woman and say, today I'm going to put on makeup and go outside butt naked, let everybody see me? What's going through your mind? You haven't protected your aura. And the inner aura, the faults and the problems and the sins that you're publicizing on social media, your tattoos that you're showing everybody that you're not ashamed of. You should wear a turtleneck sweater in the wintertime. You should be ashamed to have that filth on your neck and to show people the tattoo on your neck. You should be scared. Let alone if you shave your beard every day and you walk outside and you parade around the whole world saying, look guys, I disobeyed the Prophet last night. Or this morning, when I was in traffic, I disobeyed the Prophet and I shaved my face. So you have to have shame in Islam. You have to hide your faults. And most importantly is asking Allah to hide your faults. And when you realize that Allah is the one who reveals and exposes, and Allah is the one who covers and conceals, then that removes paranoia. When you believe in the qadr and you know the qadr, there's no need to be paranoid. Because لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Nothing will happen to you except that it was meant to happen. You cannot escape it and you can't avoid it. So the Muslim is always at peace. The Muslim is always at a still state of mind. He's always relaxed. because there's no need to sweat or to fret. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Oh Allah, ustur awrati wa amin ru'ati." No one can make me feel safe except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can invest in security, I can wear bulletproof vests, I can carry this gun, I can have these tough people around me, I can know this person, but I can't ever feel safe unless Allah makes me feel safe. And that is why people who have all of that beefed up security, they have a concoction of pills that they take every single day just to go to sleep, just to wake up, just to have a cool, calm day. I have to take a variety of pills. So the Muslim, he may need some pills from time to time. Maybe. It may be a clinical issue. People are born with physical defects and they're also born with mental defects. However, when's the last time you made this dua, Akhi? Ukhti? Do you even know this dua? Have you heard of this dua? Rather, you've been making a false, fake, bogus dua for the last 20 years. Maybe, just maybe, that's why you're still suffering. So beneficial knowledge is the source and it is the starting point of ridding all problems. Beneficial knowledge. Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fi din. Allah what's good for the servant, He allows the servant to learn his deen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us well-being in this world and in the next. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us in this world and the next. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our family and our wealth. We ask Allah to protect our families and our wealth. We ask Allah to hide our private parts, our faults and flaws. We ask Allah to rid us of fear and anxiety. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from in front of us, and from behind us, and from the right side, and from the left side, from above, and from beneath and below. وَسُبْحَانَ رَبِّكَ رَبِّ الْعِزَّةِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.